All right, people. Thank you for tuning in. Tulsi Kratz, Bernie Kratz, Indie Kratz. I am Dave, and this is The Radical Independent, the channel which stands with the majority of the American people who are largely independent. It's true. Tulsi's last stand, I woke up this morning saying, I gotta do this video. And the funny thing is, I didn't even Google this term. This article just popped up. Written by James Antle III. It's from the American Conservative, I believe. Oh no, he's using conservative stuff. I use both. RT America is like my favorite source, believe it or not. But people immediately accuse me of being a Russian bot when I'm using those guys. So, unfortunately, I've got to do this video. And if you're here because I love Tulsi Gabbard, that's awesome. But we've got to be real about what's happening here. And this article, by the way, really hits everything. This is one of the best written articles about Tulsi Gabbard and about what's happening to her and where the Democratic Party is, and quite honestly where the Republican Party is too. But this is about the Democratic Party. The most interesting Democrat running for president could be felled by a party that cares more about wokeness than war. Wow. Boom. There you go. I don't know. I could stop the video here. It was already one of the most memorable moments of the Democratic presidential debates in this young election cycle. Rachel Maddow asks the question, why isn't it over? Why can't presidents of very different parties and very different temperaments get us out of there? Talking about war. And how could you? Tim Ryan did the George W. Bush talking points. We need to be engaged. Tulsi Gabbard, is that what you tell the parents of those 2 soldiers who were just killed in Afghanistan? We just have to be engaged? She asked a sputtering Ryan. Oh, watching Tim Ryan just looks like one of these, I don't know. Ohio's a tricky state, though. Ohio is very working class, but it's kind of conservative, and you gotta, but the fact of the matter is, if you appeal to voters and say, hey, we'd like to bring more money home to your district, but we can't, because our military budget is $750 billion. Just crazy. Gabbard noted that she had joined the military to fight those who attacked us on 9/11, not to nation build indefinitely in Afghanistan. Some liken Gabbard to Ron Paul, his exchange with Rudy Giuliani. Gabbard is polling at 0.8%, people. 8.8, not 8, but 0.8% in the national Real Clear Politics average. I can't fathom that she's at 0.8%. And she's challenging someone here at 0.3%. Yeah, Tim Ryan's career is just about over here. Ryan's asterisk candidacy is unsurprising, but Gabbard has been perhaps the most interesting Democrat running for president, and Wednesday night could be her last stand. It's tonight, people. She gets to share the stage with Joe Biden, who, like Hillary Clinton, voted for the Iraq War. There's no guarantee she will get another opportunity. The eligibility criteria for subsequent debates is more stringent, and she has yet to qualify. The huge Democratic field has been a bust. Of the more than 20 declared presidential candidates, only 7 are polling at 2% or more in the national averages. 2 more, Senators Cory Booker and Amy Klobuchar, are polling at least that well in Iowa. Only 4 candidates are consistently polling in the double digits. Biden, who recovered from his early debate stumbles and remains, now hear this, remains comfortably in the lead. Progressive media outlets Joe Biden remains comfortably in the lead. You can only do so many stories about how the polling sample is all old people. It's not working. Old people vote. I don't know what to tell you. Do I like it? No, but the reality is those on the progressive left are going to always frame it as, well, Bernie's getting duped. Here's how he's... Poll after poll, he's getting duped. He's getting beaten in these very progressive states by... Iowa is a progressive state for primary caucusing. He's got a double-digit lead over Bernie Sanders. Of course, you've got to factor in that Elizabeth Warren is running, Kamala Harris is running. Both of them are pulling some support away from Bernie. Tulsi obviously isn't pulling that much support away from Bernie. There are a lot of Bernie people that would vote for Tulsi, but they know they're going to stick to Bernie. They're not going to even change, because then it would make no sense. They're going to try to support the winner, the front runner. Anyway, Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, who seems ascendant, and Senator Kamala Harris of California are potentially the main threats to Biden's rock-solid black support. Again, progressives playing identity politics. Joe Biden is a racist. It isn't working. It's one thing to call Donald Trump a racist, but calling Joe Biden a racist isn't. He was Barack Obama's vice president, people. All right, and this is what I mean. The sort of the lack of common sense that I hear on the progressive left about what's happening to them. Anyway, Democrats raise their hands in support of decriminalizing illegal. This is with the conservative part of this. Illegal border crossings in the midst of a migrant crisis, not entirely of the Trump administration's making, although partly it's been going on for years because we keep destabilizing countries to the south of us. Both, and again, this is my independent streak coming in. Both Democrats and Republicans have done this. Obama did it. The Bushes love to do it. Clinton did it. Let me see here. Expanding Medicare to cover everyone at the expense of private health insurance. Actually, this article is a little disingenuous because some want to do that and some have decided that private health insurance can stay. It's a debate that you need to have and you need to clarify. And ensuring that everyone includes illegal immigrants. Okay, and again, these policies are not going to fly in the general election. Just throwing it out there. Ensuring illegal immigrants is not going to be a popular policy in the general election. Oh, transgender abortions. That's one too. That's not going to be really a big deal. Was it Julian Castro who talked about that? Like I keep telling people, big ticket issues that don't divide the country and turn us into tribes. Gabbard has so far been unable to penetrate this madness. It's a great first line. Because it is. There's a bunch of madness. Now, and Gabbard is for Medicare for all. She is for LGBT rights. Okay? Down the list, you go down the progressive list, the big thing she's for or against is more endless wars. And that's the thing that people should be just running to her candidacy about. But apparently it's not enough. While reliably progressive, she has occasionally reached across the political divide on issues like religious liberty, good, and big tech censorship, good, a potent combination that could prove more responsive to Trump voters than, Tim Ryan from Youngstown. By all accounts, it's what got me away from the Trump train. It's because she's got a combination of things that I fully embrace. There's really no policy that Tulsi Gabbard is offering that I go, do I, Medicare for all, is it feasible? I don't know, but I'm not against it. let's talk about it. Let's see if we can find a way to actually get in there and do it. None of this seems to matter in a Democratic Party that cares more about wokeness than war. In fact, Gabbard's conservative fans, the view brought up Ann Coulter, are often held against her, as is her failure to go all in on Trump Russia. Oh my. See, and this is why our entire political system is nothing more than electronic hallucinations each day. Chris Hedges, right? Chris Hedges said that. He's 100% right. 95 Democrats stand ready to impeach Trump over mean tweets, with nary a peep over the near bombing of Iran or the active thwarting of Congress's will on Yemen. This is a brilliant article. I don't know how much more of it I'm going to read, but I think we already understand where we are at. That's not to say that no one else running is sound on foreign policy. Bernie has realist advisors, and it took real courage for Warren to what? To back Trump's abortive withdrawals, from Afghanistan and Syria, and it required a Democratic House to advance the bipartisan Yemen resolution. But none of them are basing their campaigns on it in the same way Gabbard has. Nor do any of them better represent our military veterans' sharp turn against forever war. And this is time and time again, polls show that military veterans do not want endless war. Liberals remain skeptical of Gabbard's turn away from social conservatism, which admittedly went far beyond sincerely opposing gay marriage, while Barack Obama was merely pretending to do so. Here we go. In meeting with Assad, she hurt her credibility as a foe of the Syria intervention, failing to realize that doves are held to a higher standard on these matters than hawks. A saner Democratic Party might realize the chances are far greater that their nominee will be a covert hawk rather than a secret right-winger. Only time will tell if vestiges of that party still exist. Boom! All right. So this article brilliantly says what the problem is. Brilliantly. And it's up to us. It's up to you and me to overcome this problem by voting, by participating, by talking to friends and neighbors about war, about talking to them about, hey, do you got student loan debt? Do you have, are you worried about your kid's future? Are your kids saddled with all of these debts? What's it like paying $1,600 a month for rent for a 3-bedroom apartment somewhere? Because that's what we got here in Florida. I can go on and on, up and down the list. You just need to have, and by the way, you don't have to be, this isn't at all about identity politics. Tulsi Gabbard isn't about identity politics. All right? And that's in most of the Democratic Party. And even people who think, I really don't want to talk too much about identity politics, but they bring up racist tweets all day long. Trump's racist tweets. Okay. It's just making the Trump people bolder. And we need candidates who can talk about issues. And the people who follow those candidates also need to talk about issues. Not about foolish, frivolous nonsense. So is this Tulsi Gabbard's last stand? Yes. Yes, it is. Is there a possibility she absolutely has the best night of her life as a human being because she absolutely destroys people on that stage with truth? CNN is doing this debate, people. Just, again, gotta mention that. And there is a high likelihood that they may have a very antagonistic question for Miss Tulsi Gabbard. And if they do, then it could either be lights out for her or it could be lights out for them. But I don't think it's going to be enough to move the needle in one direction or another. Currently, in this party, which, by the way, you can't have a revolution in a counter-revolutionary party, said Jill Stein smartly. In this party right now, Joe Biden is the frontrunner. And he's comfortably the frontrunner. And progressives need to start to recognize that he is comfortably the frontrunner and stop pretending and playing games and saying, oh, well, it's because the polling is off. Look, I bought that initially. There was some good research that went out that I digested, but then I started to see different polling outfits and more polls, and you would think if some of those polling methods got corrected, you would start to see that lead diminish. The problem for Bernie is that Elizabeth Warren is now perceived as a progressive alternative to Bernie. And she's probably somewhat more likable than Bernie, although I don't necessarily agree with that. And then you've got Kamala Harris, because people want the POC. They want people of color. I don't know why they want Tulsi. Tulsi's a person of color. I don't understand why they don't want her. Well, they don't want her because she's anti-war. I wish Tulsi Gabbard would run as an independent, a libertarian, or a Green Party candidate. I don't know if she would fit in with the libertarians because she does want some government intervention on some big issues. She could ignite a movement within the Green Party and bring working class people in, bring anti-war people in, bring a coalition of voters who don't just sip on latte and drive their Prius around. You have to bring in truck drivers and bakers and landscapers and working class people in order to win this. That's what Bernie's got, but Bernie doesn't have enough of it. Bernie too. Okay, my appeal to the Bernie people would be start petitioning very soon to get Bernie running as an independent, because it will be both of you. If you imagine this, okay, and everybody's already said this, but I'm going to say it again in this video. Imagine that Bernie and Tulsi have this agreement that if they don't get the nomination, they're going to run as a 1 and 2, Bernie on the top ticket, Tulsi as VP, in some other party. Whether it's the Green Party, whether it's a straight-up independent party. I'd love to see them run as independents because there's less perception of what that is and less baggage. It would absolutely ignite a true radical independent movement in this country where the people, again, in the majority, are independents. We are in the majority. And you could be a left independent or a right independent, and I guarantee you there'll be enough crossover on certain issues like corruption in government, the national debt, which has been created by endless wars. You can find common ground. Needless interventions. Most people don't want to needlessly intervene in other countries' affairs. That's a high majority. But yet she's polling at 0.8%. So, again, like I've said in other videos, if you can't go through, you've got to go around. And we're running out of time. We're a little more than a year away. We're toward the end of July here of 2019. If this is going to actually happen, we've got to crank this machine up before the start of next year. We've got to crank it up in all 50 states, and we've got to understand that our whole way of doing things is at stake, or the way we communicate. Hey, did you love what Tulsi said about big tech, about censorship? Do you like the fact that she's suing Google? I think it's awesome, and I hope she wins the lawsuit. I don't know if she will, because she's up against. I'm sorry, but this is a David versus Goliath moment here, and it's going to be tough. But the sentiment the love for this woman and what she believes and how she's conducting herself and how classy she is. I mean, the sentences that this guy writes about her and what she is, I mean, it's spot on brilliant. It's spot on brilliant. And I for one can't see how people have overlooked this wonderful candidate and have kind of just went to their comfort zone. Look, I get it. If people who are afraid of Donald Trump, their goal is just to defeat Donald Trump. And Joe Biden is like, I heard one woman say he's comfortable. He's like the old pair of shoes, the old slippers. He's nostalgic for me. He brings back, I don't know what was so nostalgic and wonderful about the economic turmoil that Barack Obama and Joe Biden presided over, because they did for 8 years. I mean, it was bad. I mean, Trump has boosted, he's definitely helped the job market. You can't argue with those stats. And anyone who does, again, who wants to say, well, people are working 2 or 3 jobs, some of that might be true. But there are people who couldn't get jobs before who are getting jobs. So now we've got to fix all the other bigger problems that are looming that are going to crash this economy again. You have to have a balance between a hot economy and an economy that works for everybody and an economy that won't break down again like it did in 2007 and 2008. All right, so Tulsi's last stand, yeah, I hate to say it, but yeah, I've got to be honest. And this channel, if anything, it's going to be hard-hitting, it's going to be honest, and I'm going to be who I am. So we'll see what happens tonight. You never know. You never know. And I'll be the first one tomorrow to say, wow, I didn't see that coming. But then, even after, if Tulsi wins this debate, and she's the most searched out candidate, how long will that momentum last? And will it mean a boost in the polls? It might mean a boost in fundraising, and she will probably get to 130,000 unique donations. But now she's got to hit the polling criteria too. And 0.8%, I don't know if is going to cut it. And maybe it'll go up by the time the next set of debates. If she can somehow get into the next debate, then all bets are off. She could be like the Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton model and find her way to Iowa being one of the top candidates. But we're a long way from that. So we'll see what happens. Aloha. Thanks for watching. Don't forget Patreon. I need help because this video will probably be demonetized for 24, 36 hours, which means really no revenue from the videos. A little tiny bit at the end, but when the video drops from the first 12 hours, because these are topical videos, that's when you actually make a few bucks off of them, and I literally mean a few bucks. So if you can help out on Patreon or through PayPal, I will post a link to my PayPal in the description of this video. And then I will thank everybody who actually does help me out. Typically, I send an email just thanking everybody for that. But we need to take this over. It's us, we the people. All right. See you soon.